Hi, I'm Camille Vidal-Naquet, director of Sauvage. I'm here in Warsaw for the premiere in Poland. Thank you for watching the film on OUTFILM platform.
This is your first feature film, and I'm wondering about the subject because male prostitution it's not a very popular subject in the cinema. So I'm wondering how this subject came to you.
Well, I didn't start with a subject. I didn't think I'm going to make a social film. I'm going to make a film about male prostitution. It didn't start like this. It was about a character, the energy of a character. I wanted to talk about an outcast, somebody who's wandering in the streets, somebody who doesn't have any belongings, who doesn't own anything. I was picturing the energy of this man walking from one encounter to another, looking, craving for love. And I think this led me to homeless people in the first place. I thought, because homeless people, it was the scenery I had in mind all the time. And after that, it led me to male street hustling because it was a search of love. So I think I was talking about both things, being homeless and being in love. But it really started with this character. I mean, I was very sensitive to his energy, his vibrations, sensations that I had considering this character. But it didn't start with male street hustling.
C'est quand la dernière fois que vous avez dormi?
Cette nuit, j'ai pas dormi, mais la nuit d'avant, je crois que j'ai dormi.
Est-ce que vous avez un partenaire régulier?
Ah, t'es bien là? J'ai bien. Pas vraiment.
Ça fait combien de temps que vous vous prostituez?
Un certain temps.
Mais vous avez pas envie d'autre chose?
Pourquoi j'aurais envie d'autre chose?
But we're not talking about people who hustle behind the screen on the internet. This most of the guys do now, I guess. But we're talking about people hustling in the street, meaning today they don't have access to the internet. And so there was something wild about it. And I was also wondering if today in a street, in a city like Paris, this phenomenon was still existing. What I wanted to see and film was the everyday life of a street worker. I mean, and film it like any other job. And wondering, is it a job like any other? So this is why I wanted this specific subject.
Yes, it's very interesting, but because whenever you talk about the prostitution, you mean mostly female prostitution, right?
Yeah.
And the male prostitution in our background, in our head, doesn't exist.
There's something disturbing for people to imagine that a man is doing something that we usually attribute to women. I think that's it. And surprisingly enough, it was a movie about men, but in a way, it was saying a lot about women.
Exactly. I was wondering also because sometimes I thought that this subject is very good for the documentary film. Have you ever thought about making not feature film, but documentary film?
No.
No.
Thank you. No, it was always fiction. It was always fiction because let me tell you this character is a fictional character. I've never met in reality somebody like him. Well, I mean, I met a lot of different persons that inspired me to create this one, but it doesn't really exist. He's out of the world. He's a fictional character. And, but I think it was very important for me to document it, but not make a documentary. I think it would be great, make a documentary, but that was not my desire. This has never been my desire.
To be honest, you have stolen my question.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Sorry, because I just wanted to ask you about how did you build the character, and have you ever met the people who were working on the streets?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I've well, at first I wrote the script without knowing what was the how male street hustling was in France. I didn't want to know because I always think, that's my theory, that when you write, it's better not to go to the field in the beginning. I'd rather make everything up because it's limitless. You can invent and make up whatever you want, and you just discover the energy you want to put in the film. And so when I finished the first draft, then I met a charity that works with homeless people. And well, I just met them at first to ask them questions about the script. And they explained to me that the best thing would be for me to go with them and meet those hustlers and talk with them. Because I think we have this tendency of thinking of persons hustling in the street as a function. We say they're hustlers, but we have to remember that before being hustlers, they are people like you and me.
Exactly.
So they just have personalities. So what I discovered that this charity, they were telling me, I cannot tell you if your script is accurate. It's got to be accurate for some of the boys, but not for others, because they have personalities, because they're human, and you seem to be forgetting that. And I thought it was very interesting. I think that's what we all do, like categorizing people like this. And then I went with them to the Bois de Boulogne in France, which is one of the part of the cities where the boys hustled in the street. And I went there one night with the charity, and I ended up many years there. I stayed many years there, going there every week and meeting these boys and talking to them. So it was a long process. There were bondings. I was bonding with them. I made friends with some of them. I was following their story, and we were talking a lot because there was a lot of boys. So, and it inspired me a lot of details for the film.
Speaking about the main character, because we don't know his background, his backstory, even we don't know his name. I'm wondering what was your motivation about that?
I forgot.
No!
I forgot to put a name.
Really?
No.
No, of course I know you're joking.
No. The thing is, I think in this film, it's not, as I was telling you, it's not a social film that is trying to analyze how you become a street hustler. It's another film, which would be interesting, but it was not the question of the film. It was to analyze how it works. It was just to be with these boys for more than an hour. It's to live with one person without any judgment, without passing any moral judgment. So we don't know what he's been doing before. We don't know what he's going to do next. And I think we are exactly in the same spirit as he is in. He doesn't know what he doesn't remember what he did the day before, the hour before. He doesn't know what he's going to do next. And we're just living a life of instance like his. So we're not judging. We're just experimenting. We're just living a life that nobody knows. Mm-hmm. And I think the interest of the film was just to make this experience, was to share a few days with this guy. So my goal was more to raise questions, to make these guys exist, and to see exactly what exists and what I saw in my own city where I live in.
Écoute-moi bien, ici la pipe c'est pas 5 €, c'est 20. Pourquoi t'embrasses les clients?
Je sais pas, ça me dérange pas. Tu peux aussi rester là à côté de moi et moi je te prends dans mes bras et moi je vais sur toi.
Also, very important thing in that film is physicality, and even the way of working of the camera. Can you say about this part of your film?
The body is their instrument of work. This is what they work with. It could be any other tool for any other job. So we try to film the body and nudity as normal as possible, as ordinary as possible. So when somebody's naked on screen, it's not a big event.
No.
It's something normal. So most of the time you don't see people getting undressed. they're already undressed when the action starts.
Yeah.
Because I think that there is something sensual in taking your clothes off. And we never wanted to be sensual. It was not pornography, it was not eroticism, it was just work. So we had to get rid of everything that could make it look like an erotic film, because it's not one. And so, yeah, I knew that we were going to shoot some graphic, sometimes violent scenes. And so it was important for me to work on the body in a very soft way, with tenderness. And so we made this choreographic workshop with a friend of mine, a friend that I knew, because I made this workshop with him a few years ago, and I was so overwhelmed. I was so like, it was so beautiful what he made us do, that I think was a great thing to work with your body. And Felix and Eric, who played the Ad, his partner, made this, and every boy who plays a hustler had to follow this workshop. You cannot ask actors to play hustlers if they feel uncomfortable in the cameras. They cannot be like this. They have to be workers. They don't care about the body because they're used to it.
Yeah.
We tried to find an organic way to film, as if it was like in a body, like in a human body, like blood flowing, blood pumping, but always life in the image. So first of all, all the film was handheld. Everything was shot. I mean, except the last shot. There's just one shot that is not handheld, because I really love movies that are shot handheld. Mm-hmm. To some people, when you say it's going to be handheld, there's this idea that it's going to be like a documentary and you move a lot to give action. But to me, I think it's a way of feeling the vibration of the character, and it can be very poetic, and it can be very soft and tender. And of course, there was the editing. The editing is also like an electrocardiogram. It's like an EKG. It's like, because it's like heartbeats every time it cuts. Mm-hmm. It's jumping all the time, this editing. There's a lot of shots. We edited a lot. And again, we tried to feel a pulse in the way we edited it.
Pour être aimé, toi.
And about, let's say something about the main actor, Felix. He got a prize on the last Cannes Film Festival from the Rising Star, which means this is yeah. How did you find him? I mean, that was difficult casting, or someone told you you have to take him to your film?
We were just in the beginning of the casting, and I thought it would be very complicated to find someone who would play this part. And somebody told me about him. We met, and he didn't read the script first. We just met, and well, he's someone. He's someone in life, and I felt there was something different with him. He had a different approach, and I really liked the fact that he was a beginner. But I was one too, because it was my first film. And for the director of photography, it was his first feature as well. And I think it was great. I wanted it to be a first for a lot of people. Because I think that when it's the first time you're wild. You wanted to test a lot of things, you want to discover things, you have the excitement. And so I liked it. He already played in a film. Very well-known film, but it was in the beginning of his career, and I think it was great. And then he read the script, and I really enjoyed the way he was talking about it. He understood it all. He knew, he wasn't talking about psychology of the character, he was just talking about facts, body, energy.
Pure facts.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
think he got it all. It's because it was exactly what we had to do.
Mm-hmm. And can you say something about the relationships between the main character, because there's also a space for love?
Well, I thought it was important to understand that most of the time when people talk about homeless people, they think that homeless people don't have feelings, or that you cannot represent the feelings of homeless people. But everybody has feelings. Everybody falls in love even when you're in the street. And I think it was very important and beautiful to say that your heart is still there. And in the film, the character has something very strong in himself. He's a bit weak physically. He cannot fight, he's ill, he doesn't take his medicine. But there's one thing he has, is his heart. And that makes him much stronger than the others. So it was important for me to show this dimension, this very humanistic dimension of the character. And also, I think that none of us know a life like the one of this character, because it's a wild life that is very far from us, it seems. But we all have stories, love stories like the one he has. And in this way, I think we can recognize ourselves in him. He's just a love story. And in the film, I think the interesting thing is that he never complains about being a hustler. Never. It's not an issue for him. He's not suffering from being a hustler. It's just what he is. Yeah. But what he's suffering from is not to be loved from the one he loves. This is giving him a great deal of pain, like I think we all have experienced. And I think it was very important for me to portray this in the film and to show this in the film.